Hey all, how you doing? Rob here. I've been waiting for this bike to arrive for a long time now because I think it is one of the most interesting bikes that has been announced in quite some time. It's the Kelly's Theos. This is the F90. There's a couple in the range, a longer travel, this one, and a shorter travel e-bike. Now, this is a world's first in terms of frame construction. It's using thermoplastic hybrid steel carbon composite, which is completely new for the bike industry. There's nothing else out there like it. The frame is also built by robots. Yeah, it's quite incredible. So I'm going to go through some details of the frame and the unique things that this has, and then we'll have a quick look around the bike and I'll show you some details. And a full review will be coming out soon. So if you want to be the first to see that, make sure you're subscribed. So let's dive into the frame material. And what exactly is thermoplastic hybrid steel composite? So it's a combination of materials, a composite containing steel microfibers, carbon fibers, and a thermoplastic material as a binding compound to bring it all together. So why use this new material when carbon fiber, traditional carbon fiber, and aluminium have been used in the bike industry for such a long time? Well, actually, there's a few benefits. The new material is supposedly twice as impact resistant as regular carbon fiber. So carbon fiber can, if it reaches a certain stress point, fracture or snap or crack. And I'm sure you may have seen in some photos on the internet somewhere, carbon bikes that have had a chainstay crack or an impact damage, and that can result in a catastrophic failure of that specific part. So you need to really replace it. So here's what Kelly's are saying about the properties of this new frame. The tests showed, thanks to the thermoplastic matrix instead of regular epoxy, the new hybrid composite became more than twice as resistant to damage caused by a direct impact than standard resin-based composite. And adding the steel microfibers as reinforcement can be up to 6 times more resistant compared to standard resin-based composites. So as a result of that, the risk of damage to the frame, Kelly's are claiming, is significantly reduced compared to a regular composite carbon. And it retains a lot of the good properties of carbon fiber used as a bicycle frame. So lightweight, stiff, and you can make complex shapes out of it like you can carbon fiber, whereas it's a little bit more difficult to make those complex shapes out of aluminium. Now, another big difference with this frame is how it's produced. It's produced by robots, whereas regular carbon fiber bikes are manually made in molds, and that requires a lot of human input, potentially variations between the person that's laying it up, whereas a robot should be able to make an exact clone hundreds of thousands of times over at exactly the same quality. Now, manual carbon fiber production is pretty much a skill and an art form in itself, but maybe arguably more prone to errors because humans are making it. So how is a robot making this? Well, Kelly's use a company called Reinforced, and what they're saying is that the composite material is formed in a robotized stamping process. Robotic arms precisely place the preheated composite to make a binder soft, and it can be manipulated layer by layer before the form closes and press forms it all into a desired shape, in this case a bicycle frame. And going back to that previous point about being built by a robot, Kelly's are saying that that maintains a consistent quality across all of the frames. And finally, really importantly, is this new material can be recycled, whereas regular carbon is virtually impossible to actually recycle. Whereas this new hybrid material can be remolded, reused, or even broken down into different components using high temperature for reprocessing. So that's a massive benefit to using this type of material. It can be recycled way more easily. So all of that tech in that frame, pretty cool, right? More resistant to impacts, as stiff and as light as carbon fiber, built by robots for consistency and can be recycled. So thumbs up from me. So at the moment, Kelly's make 2 frame sizes, a medium and a large. I've got the large just here. So let's take a look at the bike. It is a super enduro bike, 170 millimeters travel on the rear and 180 mil on the front. Fox Factory, RockShox Super Deluxe shock. And it's a mullet setup. It looks like it's built for the most gnarly enduro tracks. It is a long travel electric mountain bike. So I just want to talk about the electrical system for a little bit. It's a 725 watt hour, 20 amp battery that can be easily removed. There's no keys, there's just one single bolt and you can take it out. So when you take the battery out, the first thing I noticed was how small and light it was. And I compared it to a 750 watt hour Bosch battery in weight. So almost identical capacities, 750 for the Bosch, 725 for the Kellys. But this one weighed 3.7 kilos versus the Bosch at 4.4 kilos. So there's quite a big difference between the weight. And it makes a difference to the overall weight of the bike. Now this bike weighs 22.4 kilos, which I think is brilliant. It's one of the lightest long travel big battery e-bikes I've ever tested. So what we have here is a super enduro e-bike, really long travel, Shimano EP8 full power motor with 85 Newton meters of torque with a massive 720 watt hour battery that weighs 22.4 kilos in large in this exact spec here. There's not a lot out there, certainly what I've seen, that fall into this kind of category. And what about the look? It looks super aggressive and it looks like a Terminator. That down tube is super low. I really love the look. It looks really unique and everybody that has seen it has said, that looks so cool. And actually when you see it in the flesh, it just has this kind of class about it. It looks really well finished and very well built. Now let's take a look at this suspension linkage. Kellys call it Think Link. It's got a virtual pivot, and when you compress it and move it through the travel, you can see that linkage move up and out of the way from the bottom bracket. And there's hardly any pedal kickback at all. Right at the very, very end of the stroke, there's a minute amount of movement on the chain. But what that means is it should be super smooth through the chunky stuff and give you a lovely plush feeling when you're rocketing through rock gardens and chunky terrain. Now there's a couple of things that you might notice that I just wanted to call out. The lower pivot link sits quite low under the bottom bracket. When the bike is sagged and your rider weight is on it, it does move up out of the way, but I'll be interested to see if that causes any issues when I'm riding it. The bottom bracket height is fairly high though, at 355mm, which is on the higher side, but it is a 170mm travel enduro bike. So when you're sagged, it's much lower. Now the chainstay length is fairly long at 459mm, but personally for me, I'm a taller rider, 6'2" and a bit. I do prefer a longer chainstay length. I feel way more balanced when that rear end is a little bit longer. I don't like super short chainstays. I find that I have to position my body really far forward to find balance. And in my initial first ride of this, I've done 26 miles on this already. It does feel super sweet and balanced. Now taking a look around the bike, it's got Shimano XT 11 speed, which is interesting. And it uses the Di2. And that's all connected to the main battery. Di2, by the way, is electronic shifting. So there's no additional batteries to charge. It takes its power off the main internal battery, and that rear derailleur is electronically controlled from the shifters. You're shifting by wire, effectively. So Shimano XT drivetrain, XT brakes, really sensible build. The brilliant DT Swiss H1700 rims, just super burly, really strong, good quality rims. Oh, by the way, there's no other carbon fibre parts on it, so things like crank arms, handlebars, all of that's all made of aluminium, so it's all sensible stuff. We've got Schwalbe tyres, Magic Mary at the front, and the hand stamp at the rear in a faster rolling compound, Super Trail at the front. Now you may notice it's got the Fox fork and a Super Deluxe from RockShox on the rear, so they're mixing suspension brands. Not entirely sure the reason. I'll try and find out for you. They are both quality suspension components. The Super Deluxe is a fantastic performing rear shock and the Fox 38 is awesome. So a full video review will be coming really soon. And if you do want to be the first to see that, make sure you are subscribed. And also let me know your thoughts on this and any specific questions that you've got. I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching and I'll catch you soon.